Welcome back, my friends, to the D-Rate the Hate podcast. I am your host, Wilk Wilkinson, your blue-collar sage, calming outrage and helping to navigate a world divided by fog and those who would spread that fear, outrage, and grievance. Each week, I'm sharing stories from my path and using the power of conversation and collaboration with my many great guests. Together, we chart a course toward understanding, bridging divides, and fostering a community where wisdom prevails over discord. Friends, it really is about bettering the world one attitude at a time. We did not create the hate, but together we can derate the hate. The only good thing about a bad attitude is we have the ability as individuals to change it. For me, it starts with gratitude and personal accountability. I am so incredibly grateful that you have taken the time to join me for another powerful DTH episode. Please remember to subscribe and share the DTH podcast with your network of friends. If you would like to support the show, check out the Support Us page on the D-Rate the Hate website. With that, my friends, let's get to it. Friends, thank you for joining me for another incredible conversation here on the D-Rate the Hate podcast, where I am joined by my friend Alan Lazaros, who shares his remarkable journey of overcoming adversity and trauma to achieve true success and fulfillment. Alan emphasizes the crucial distinction between confidence and arrogance, underscoring that genuine confidence comes from self-reflection and healing past wounds, not from professional achievements alone. Alan's story highlights the importance of balancing personal development with professional success, illustrating that inner fulfillment is essential to overall well-being. He explores themes of empathy, compassion, and understanding, urging listeners to approach others with kindness and to recognize that everyone is fighting their own battles. The conversation delves into issues like bullying, self-belief, the need for therapy, and mindset work to build self-worth. Alan's insights serve as a powerful reminder that fulfilled individuals do not harm others and that it is our responsibility to lead by example with kindness and respect. Some of the key takeaways that you might find in this are that adversity can be the catalyst for personal growth and transformation. Confronting past traumas and engaging in self-reflection are essential for personal development, and to always approach others with empathy and compassion, as everyone is battling something that we probably know nothing about. Friends, do not miss another incredible episode with my friend Alan Lazaros. With that, here we go. Alan Lazaros, thank you for joining me on the D-Rate the Hate podcast, man. So great to see you.
Thank you. It's always an honor to be given a platform to speak into the lives of other people. 9 years ago, started listening to podcasts a ton in the self-improvement space and just mindset, attitude, personal accountability type of stuff. And I just am honored to be here because I am now on these platforms. And so I do not take it lightly to speak into the lives of others. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That is a beautiful thing to say, man, because so much of what I've done with this podcast over the past several years, I'm always conscious of that, right? I want to make sure that if somebody is taking their time to listen to what I'm saying, I want to be able to provide value. I want to be able to provide something that they can take away, whether it be a tip, a trick, a tool, or something that people can take in the amount of time that they're taking out of their life to really walk away and say, I got something out of that. I took something out of that. And that's why, when I think about the work that you've been doing, Alan, with Next Level University and the podcast that you do, I know, what is it? You guys have nearly 2,000 episodes. You're approaching 2,000 episodes at this point. If you haven't surpassed it, nearly 1 million listens. You guys have done incredible work. And when I say you guys, let me just preface this. So Kevin Palmieri is Alan's partner, and Kevin Palmieri was on the show quite a while back, and we talked about his personal story and the way that he was able to persevere over some things in his life, and that's really when I first became familiar with Next Level University and you guys' podcast, Alan, and then to hear about your story and the way that you have too, persevered. I mean, people that listen to the D-Rate the Hate podcast know I love to hear about people who, to go from adversity to awesomeness or persevere over personal pain and things like that. So when I saw, you lost your father at 2 years old and then had your own event where you nearly lost your life at 26 years old, and that was kind of the genesis for your change. Mm-hmm. I thought this is something that the DTH listeners can really learn from, and the way that I've seen, the results from the work that you guys do is really impressive. So thank you again for joining me, Alan. So let's start with, what was that genesis for the change in your life? How did that get started? Because I know that can help so many people. So start there for me, Alan.
So I'll try to give you we got a half-hour interview here, so I'll try to give you the short to mid version. The first thing I always want to say before I share any part of my story is, because I always reflect back to when I was listening to podcasts, and I still do, but I'm always thinking, like, these people are so articulate, and they have their life all figured out, and they understand exactly what their life was, all this stuff. At the time, I didn't understand this. I've since rewatched the movie of my life over and over and over again, and I'm 35. I often joke I'm hoping to hit puberty at 36. Wilk, you know what I'm saying, man?
You look like a young.
Yeah. So it was funny, but so I've rewatched the movie of my own life, so to speak, particularly in my 30s with a lot of therapy I've been doing, and so now I kind of get it. So when I tell this story, I'll be brief, number one. Number two, so I'll have to come fast with it. But number two is, I didn't understand this at the time. So just I got to make that clear, because it's like, oh, what a eloquent narrative, It's like, no. All right, so when I was 2, as you had mentioned, definitely born into adversity. So my father died when he was 28 in a car accident, which I never talked about until after 26, which we'll get to. Mm-hmm. I had a stepfather from age 3 to 14. So my real last name is actually McCorkle. So my father, John, my birth father, John, was in a large Irish Catholic family. It was Jim, Joe, John, Jane, Joe, Jeanette. Jane, Joan, Jeanette. So it was 6 kids, all J. And we kind of, when my stepfather came into the picture when I was 3, I had an older sister. She was 6 when my father passed away. I was 2. And then from 3 to 14, I had a stepfather. We kind of didn't talk to my birth father's side of the family very much, the McCorkles, because we were trying to be the Lazaroses, consciously or unconsciously or whatever. So my sister and I took his last name, I think, when I was around 7. And then my stepfather left when I was 14. Now, this was just, I didn't understand any of this until my 30s when I started doing therapy, but this was just a tough year for me. So prior to 14 years old, from 3 to 14, my dad did well at a company called AGFA, and it was sort of dot-com bubble, late 90s, early 2000s, when the economy was really good in the U.S. And so we did very well. So on the surface, we looked successful, but behind the scenes, my mom and stepdad did not get along, and that's a polite way to say it. So my stepfather leaves at 14, and I refer to my life before that as boats and BS, which is snowmobiles, ski trips. We had a yacht. We had motorcycles. We had trucks. We had vacations. We did well financially, but behind the scenes wasn't so good.
Pretty ugly. Yeah,
definitely. And that's, again, the nicest way I can possibly put it on a public medium. So 14 happens. My stepfather gets the yacht and the apartment building. We get the house and the dog. And he leaves and takes 90% of the income with him. And at that time, he takes his entire extended family with him too. So at that point, my Grandma Joan and Grandpa George, that whole side of the family gone. I haven't seen any of them since. None of them. Yeah. So, from 3 to 14, that was my family, and never seen any of them since. I have since spoken to my stepdad on Facebook Messenger. But that's a whole other thing. So 14 happens. At that same time, my mom and my Aunt Sandy, her sister, get in this really bad fight. And we get ostracized from her side of the family. At that same time, my older sister, moves out with her older boyfriend. So I'm 14 years old, and again, I didn't understand this at the time, like the gravity of this.
Abandonment all over.
Right. So I lose, I'm like shaking right now. I didn't even start telling this story until I was in my 30s. Yeah. I lost 3 families by the time I'm 14 years old. And on top of that, my dream since I was 10 was to go to WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I wanted to be an engineer. My 2 paths were lawyer, politician, president. Genuinely, I was considering that, and people think I'm nuts, but whatever. Or engineer, MBA, Fortune 50 CEO of a tech company like my hero, Steve Jobs, who is since not my hero, but whatever. Okay. So I went with the engineer road, and WPI is a tech school. They have a great engineering program. Super expensive though, $50,000 a year. So I'm 14, lose 3 families. Fortunately, my birth father's side takes us back in with open arms, but it's like they're seeing a ghost because I look just like my dad. So that was interesting. Okay. Again, didn't know that at the time, but reflecting back, I just bootstrapped through high school, man. So straight A's, I get what's called the President's Award. So behind me, there's an award signed by George W. Bush. And you basically have to get straight A's all through high school for every report card. And I got 189 in honors English, never took honors English again. But anyways, I got the award and I got tons of scholarships and financial aid. And so I was able to go to school. And this was a $50,000 a year school. So I went from, even if I get in to my dream school, I don't even know how I'm going to go when I'm 14, to basically like, and now I understand my trauma response is aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Thank goodness that was my choice. There's also drink more too, but we'll get into that. So I promised you the mid version, so I'll try to speed up here. But so after that, I get my MBA. So I do my computer engineering degree at one of the best tech schools in the world, kind of like a mini MIT. And then I get my master's in business, and then I'm off to the races. I'm in corporate. So I work for a bunch of tech companies like iRobot, Sensata Technologies, Tyco Safety Products, Simplex Grinnell, Cognex. Ended up having an interview at SpaceX that I ended up canceling, coming home for family stuff. But the point is I end up eventually landing at a company called Cognex. Now I'm selling industrial automation equipment for a company called Cognex. I'm an inside sales engineer. I start the team, and then I get promoted to outside sales. I'm an outside sales engineer. I do Connecticut, Western Mass, and Vermont, big manufacturing companies all throughout the territory. And I manage the territory, and I'm making a lot of money at this point. I went from 65 to 85, 85 to 105, 105 to 125, 125 to 185. So for me, going from broke at 14, how am I going to go to college, to like almost $200,000 a year with no family, no mortgage, no expenses, I was just off the rails with that.
Yeah, just killing it, right?
Yeah, killing it. And also off the rails too, because I was partying. Sure. Yeah. So I didn't have I didn't understand my trauma. I was definitely drinking too much and too often. I wasn't taking care of my health. And the best way I can just...
You're just covering everything up with, workaholic, that kind of, I'm going to keep myself so busy that nothing can touch me kind of... And I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? I mean, they use that. I mean, I like you talk about trauma response, but yeah, they dive so deep into something else that real trauma thing that is affecting them cannot be touched. It cannot even be seen.
That's exactly what it was. And that's where I think I developed my obsessive nature. I was so achievement oriented and improvement oriented toward achievement. Pro gaming, basketball, snowboarding, achievement, academics, CEO, headed there, right? Doing my whole thing, corporate. So achievement oriented, but I was improvement oriented, but I wasn't self-improvement oriented. I wasn't, the inward self-reflection wasn't there, not to the extent it is now. And so fast forward, I get in my own car accident. So my father passed away in a car accident when he was 28. When I'm 26, I'm up in New Hampshire, bad winter, cold, dark night, and the snowbank's covering the signs. I was supposed to yield through an intersection. I don't yield. I'm on the wrong side of the road. Not drinking or anything like that, but I look up and I see what I thought was a Mack truck. I thought for sure, done. This is it. There's no question that this is the end. 10 feet in front of me, the Mack truck, done. Head-on collision. It ended up being a lift-kitted pickup truck. There's a lot of those up in New Hampshire. It was not a Mack truck. I drove a 2004 Volkswagen Passat that I used to call the tank This was a German-engineered steel trap of a car, and I love this car. This car totally saved my life, and I bought it for $5,000 because at the time I was trying to become wealthy, and I had $150,000 in an investment account with index funds and tech companies. I bought a lot of Cognex as well, stock, and I paid off $84,000 worth of debt in a single year. That was like my big accomplishment, and so I just wanted to be debt-free and free. So I bought this car in cash, and the car saved my life. So I'm so grateful for that. So both airbags deployed. Me and my little cousin, he hurt his knee on the airbag. I hurt my face in the airbag. And this was no fender bender. I mean, I usually show a picture of this car, and it's absolutely smashed the whole front end. So physically, we're okay because it was a really safe car. But mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I was beyond messed up because I got the second chance my dad never got. And so I'm sitting there questioning everything. And this is the existential quarter-life crisis of self-reflection. Like, I was always achievement-oriented outwardly, but I don't want to say never, but I almost never reflected inwardly. And now I know why. I mean, all that trauma goes so deep that you don't look at it. And you don't know any different either because your childhood, I mean, in hindsight, my childhood there was some good things, but honestly, I mean, whoa. But you don't know because that's all you know. Sure. And so it's not till my 30s that I started really understanding, doing more therapy, really getting deep on some of the memories that I blacked out and different stuff. But at the end of the day, after that car accident, I flipped the script, man. I said, I'm never again going to achieve at the expense of my inner fulfillment. I'm going to focus on inner fulfillment, and then hopefully success will be a byproduct. Now, I say hopefully because I went all the way past broke after that. As an entrepreneur, I know a lot of entrepreneurs can relate. And I was fulfilled as hell, but I was broke, which, by the way, also sucks. So 9 years later, here I am, 26 to 35, and now we have a podcast and a company, 21 people at our company now, virtually, Kevin and I. And he has his own quarter-life crisis around that same time, mid-20s type of thing. Both grew up in the same sort of small town. I refer to the town I grew up in, the particularly kind of the Boulevard of Broken Dreams sort of thing. And small town, small-minded for sure. Very humble beginnings. And the last piece I'll share too, that I never started sharing until recently, but people who see me now, Wilk, and I get it, the backdrop and all that, it looks like a silver spoon situation. I never understood how much. What happens when your trauma response is aim higher, work harder, get smarter, and you spend your life basically being bullied or hurt or trauma happening, and then your response to that is aim higher, work harder, get smarter? It creates this cycle of everyone thinks they need to take me down a peg.
Yeah. That whole... When we hide what hurts us and not confront it, Alan, I mean, this is, I've got my own personal stories that go down the same boulevard that you're talking about, right? But when we hide rather than confront, when depending on what our trauma response, and everybody's got a different one, but when we hide these things rather than confront them, we are constantly, I mean, we've got to keep it up because the more we do, especially coming from that, that bullied mindset and that traumatic, that traumatic spot as a kid and everything else, you're just waiting for that next punch, right? You're waiting for that next hit to happen. So you're constantly looking over your shoulder, trying to get faster, trying to get stronger, trying to find more ways to hide this, all while unconsciously not even knowing what you're hiding from. Mm-hmm. All while unconsciously, you're fighting a battle and you don't even realize, you can't even figure out what the enemy is. Because that enemy is really something inside us that we're fighting, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot of times it isn't the outside world that we're fighting. It's something that's inside us, mm-hmm. and yeah. I mean, just thinking about my own past, Alan, and listening to your story right now, it brings back so many of those internal things that I know so many people are battling, but they don't even know what they're battling. They don't even realize that the true enemy is within, and it's something that we really, if we ever want to get better, we got to confront it. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for some people, I've broken it down now. I'm coming up on my 10,000 hours for coaching, speaking, training, that kind of stuff, and podcasting. As you mentioned, almost 2,000 episodes. We crossed 1,700. I appreciate the embellishment, but only at 1,700. But anyways,
that's still a bunch.
Every great story deserves a little embellishment, you know. But anyways, so I'm kidding about that. But so I'm not just saying this. This is me coaching. I crossed my 5,000th full hour-long coaching session. I was on a coaching session before this, actually. Real people in the real world, all different industries, all different countries, all different backgrounds, all different races. It's awesome. And I've learned so much because you just have such a sample set now of all these different individuals. So you realize these are not you problems, these are human problems. Mm-hmm. But they're different nuances. And so I've got it kind of in two main categories. I was sort of the professionally developed achiever, resume, cover letter, you know, if you externally achieve, nothing will hurt you internally type. And then other people actually do go inward. And so my playful thing that I say is, if you want to coach, you probably need a therapist. I had dozens of mentors and coaches, and I really needed therapy. And then if you want a therapist, you probably need a coach. You know, if what you wanted was what you needed, you'd already have it.
Right.
And the gold is buried where you least want to dig. And so post 26, I went back and I talked to my ex-girlfriend. She was my girlfriend between late high school, early college, and we were together for 4.5 years. And I now realize we were very trauma bonded. She grew up rough too. And I just asked, like, is there anything you noticed about me? I was on a self-reflection journey, man. I mean, girls, you know, when they're kids, they're encouraged to get a diary and they self-reflect. And for me, I didn't have any of that. So where I grew up, there was zero personal growth. There was zero personal development. Personal growth and personal development are personal, meaning self-reflection. It's not hard to say, hey, I'm going to get straight A's and I'm going to do what I need to do to get that result that's external. I was confident in achievement, but I wasn't confident in who I am.
Right.
I had high self-belief in terms of what I can achieve, but not high self-worth. And so now I understand the two buckets. It's like you see these people that have tremendous holistic self-improvement. They're emotionally mature individuals. They're holistic. They probably are great in their relationships and they deal with their stuff. Mm-hmm. But they're not that successful in the economy. And that's been hard for me to witness. And then you've got these emotionally stunted, traumatized semi-bullies that you see winning. And it's bothersome. And for me, I break it down into the two categories, which is you've got professional development and you've got personal development. And what I say is we all need to be ambidextrous in the 21st century. I don't want to be like one of my mentors who takes better care of his Porsche than his own family. But he's multimillionaire, right? CEO of a tech company, robotics, all that stuff. I don't want to be, but I also don't want to be broke and fulfilled like I was. I want to be successful and fulfilled. And so the only way to do that is to be righty and lefty. We're all righty or lefty. You talk about polarization. And we all think we're right, which is why we're all wrong. Right. And so to me, it's a spectrum. Correct. It's a spectrum. And you can totally live and dance within that spectrum. And I'm the professionally developed resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, tech company guy who people who are heart-driven and holistic typically ran away from. But what did I need? I needed empathy. I needed compassion. I needed love. I needed friends who aren't going to leave the moment they're insecure because I'm so confident.
That's a great point. And you know, these things that you're saying, Alan, just lead me to something that I'm constantly thinking about. And I constantly reiterate it on this podcast and in my own coaching sessions and things like that is when we are interacting with other people, right? One of the biggest things I talk about is how we interact with other people, how we how we confront different situations. But the one thing, I don't care whether it's the most successful CEO and some multimillionaire that you're speaking with, like you're referring to, or some guy, from the Midwest, some blue collar factory worker or farmer or somebody from middle America who just wants to completely be left alone and doesn't like the woes of the world that so many of us are constantly talking about. One thing that we all have in common is we're all battling something, right? We're all struggling with some kind of internal storm. And there's another podcast host, I don't remember his name now, but a guy I used to listen to a few years back. He used to talk about we're all battling. We're all either going into a storm, coming out of a storm, or currently experiencing a storm. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I've taken away from that, Alan, and the one thing that I'm taking away from that you and I are talking about right now, and kind of incorporating that into so much of what I do, is just realize that everybody's got something going on that we know nothing about. Yeah. And the best thing that we can do is just like what you were talking about, right? You're worried about how somebody's going to judge you, or does this person want to take me down a peg because my confidence overrides their insecurities, right? Just realize that everybody that you encounter on any given day, in any situation, in any conversation, is battling something that you know nothing about. And the best thing that you can do in that situation is listen and be kind. Listen and be kind. And that's kind of, what I'm taking so much away from in this conversation is, just because you look at somebody and you see on the outside surface, this person is incredibly successful. They're an engineer. They've got all the bona fides. They've got everything that you think makes their life perfect. Yeah. But you know nothing about what's going on inside. What that battle is that person is fighting, and why they do what they do, how they got to where they got. What were they trying to cover up? What battle are they fighting that I know nothing about? And now it's just my turn to listen and be kind.
It's so important, and if it takes a ton of humility. And the one thing that I want to say is I accept all walks of life, and I've always been that way. I never understood why people tear people down. I remember in 4th grade, I was a bully for 1 year, not even a year. It was like a couple months, and there was his name's Josh, and I used to trip him at recess every single day. And I went through that like month-long bully phase, and I just stopped after that. And I don't know if it was shame or if I became what I was being bullied at home. I don't know what it was, but that was it. That was the only time I can think of in my life where I went out of my way to tear down. And I realized the reason why is self-belief. Because I've been trying to figure out, right? You see these two siblings, and they both have this awful upbringing. And one of them ends up with a trauma response of aim higher, work harder, get smarter, dream bigger, better, brighter future. And the other one gets stuck or slips into vices. And I did both, right? Drugs, alcohol, that kind of thing. I did both. I aimed higher. I achieved more. And when I found personal growth, that's when it was like, okay, this is the real answer for me. Personal growth, self-reflection. Because for me, I already had the professional stuff. That's all fine. It's not the next math and science book that's going to help. I was the guy who could party all night, get A's in the calculus exams. The piece there is, how does that happen? And I finally think I figured it out, which is that there's two things that I think matter foundationally for all of us. And the one walk of life that I have never been able to accept is bullies. Mm-hmm. Bullies to me are the problem. Now, what creates a bully? Usually it's trauma. So the hero and the villain in the story, any narrative, any movie, any book, both of them get stomped on. The hero says, I'm going to make sure this never happens to anyone else again. I'm going to do something about this. The villain says, I'm going to go stomp on someone else because life stomped on me. Mm-hmm. And they develop this massive ego, which is just a protector from deep insecurity. And I figured out, I think it's because of low self-belief. If life is smacking you down, and you have an overly dominant, maybe alcoholic caregiver or whatever, and you're being mistreated and horribly disrespected, and you don't even know it because you're just a kid, and you don't have self-belief, what are you going to do? Is that going to be constructive, or or destructive. I used to hear things like, your adversity becomes your advantage, turn your pain into power. And I'm with you. I did that. I am so much stronger now because of how much I've been through. And even on top of that, at the tail end, I never used to share this, but I want to here because I need to have courage, social courage. I always had competence courage, but I never had social courage. I was always afraid to be me. But I'm a tall, white, Caucasian American male who looks like he had a silver spoon. And so I'm not an underdog. I'm like the underdog who was never seen as an underdog. And so the bullies, I'm like a target. It's like this weird thing. And on top of that, I have what they don't, which is self-belief. But I never knew I did. Mm-hmm. And so as a 35-year-old man, now I understand, like, okay, I used to think, well, when I become a more virtuous person, people will like me more. That didn't work at all, Wilk.
Right.
That didn't work. Not even a little bit. Holy crap. It got worse.
Yeah.
It's like, now I'm a bigger mirror. Oh, good for you, man. It's like, oh, I thought I was helping people. Like, I have a charity for kids. Why are you attacking me? I do more good in the world now than I ever did back then. And you liked me more back then when I was drinking and partying and being a shithead.
Right.
And so that's the weird thing. And so people who don't have self-belief, they end up either one, staying small and being what I call the turtle, or they end up becoming the pufferfish bully who has to dominate to compensate for their own lack of self-belief. And so now, in order to listen and just be, I try to understand which is which. And then the bullies, you got to shield bump and stand up to them and then sail away. And the people that are turtles, they're more capable than they think. And they really just need someone to believe in them because they've also been bullied. So,
no, that's absolutely right. I mean, the Alan, so much of what you're saying are things that I can relate to, and I know that many of our listeners can relate to. You know, we've talked quite a bit on this podcast about bullying, and then I've shared some of not all of but some of my own experiences with bullying. I was bullied incessantly from, probably 2nd to 5th grade, and some of the most horrific memories of my life come along with that. But my experience with that and the things that I remember from that and the things that I take away from it today, I look back on that and I try to relate some of the things that I experienced to things that I see today. One of the big things that I see today is, when we talk about, just because of what I talk about so much, I talk, I see things like cancel culture, right? Cancel culture, in my opinion, is one of the greatest and not great as in good, but the on a grander scale, manifestations of bullying. Both people who have been bullied and people who are bullying, but now they all become the bullies because we're trying to cancel people that we disagree with, which is bullying. But it really comes down to hurt people. Yep. Right. And people, people will say here, oh, that's so cliche, hurt people. But it really is in a lot of ways that simple, because people look at people, and we think about the term envy, right? People looked at Alan Lazaros and said, look, this guy's got everything, he's whatever, and they said, we're going to take him down a peg because he's got confidence.
They think it's arrogance. That's what I now realize.
Yeah, they think confidence is arrogance.
Yeah, and by the way, how could they not think that when they don't believe in themselves?
That's right.
And
it goes back to that envy thing.
And exactly.
He's got something I don't have, so I'm going to take him down a peg.
Especially because he got the silver spoon type of thing, right? Even though it's actually, if they heard my story or gave me a minute to actually share who I am, which, by the way, I'm not doing because I don't want to go there.
Right.
You see, because I'm traumatized. I don't want to talk about my dad's death. I don't want to talk about my stepdad. I don't want to. So it's this weird perpetuating cycle of, you don't get a chance to get to know me because I've got you at arm's length, which makes you think I'm arrogant and not vulnerable, when in reality I'm going through a battle internally you don't understand, and you assume that I'm this privileged white Caucasian American male who needs to be taken down a peg, who actually just has something you don't, which is self-belief, because we were never taught how to build it, and no one knows that no one has it, except for people who really do have it and go, actually, that person is just full of it. And so what I always say is, Why would someone with level 10, you ever meet one of those guys? You're not like this at all, Wilk. And maybe you were at one point. I don't know. I doubt it. But you ever meet those guys that pretend that they're like so confident, level 10 confidence, like over the top confidence? Why would someone...
I've met them.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not one of them, but yeah, I've met them.
Okay. Picture that person, usually a guy, but picture that person. I always use Gaston, right? Picture that person. Why would someone with that much confidence have zero, like level 2 goals? Why would someone with level 10 confidence have level 2 goals? Oh, it's not real.
Yep.
It's actually entitlement because they were awesome in high school at football or whatever it is, right? And so then it just becomes this thing. And so the hurt people is the thing. And the solution is therapy. The solution is mindset. The solution is personal accountability. The solution is realizing that you can't do an eye for an eye because we all go blind. And so but you also, like, not all hurt people. Some hurt people just stay small forever.
That's right.
You can't do that either.
Doesn't really accomplish much.
It doesn't accomplish much. So you have to have the courage to stand up to the bullies, because that's why bullies have no humility, because no one ever stands up to them, because they're so over the top dominant. And usually the person with real humility has a lot more to lose, because deep down they do believe in themselves and they do believe in their bigger, brighter, better future. And so I always felt that way. Like, I have a disadvantage. You're stepping to me because I'm triggering your insecurity, and I have a lot to lose. My future is big and bright. So yeah, this fight might be nothing to you, but this is too dangerous. I don't want this to go south. And so it's this whole thing of fighting's never the solution, but we got to do something when you're being bullied, because otherwise you crush your self-respect when you go docile and fawn every single time. And fawning, for those of you who don't know, is a trauma response of just appease, just whatever you need. And then there's the whole sexual abuse thing too. So I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, how do you have empowerment inside of you where you have self-belief and self-worth, meaning you can achieve and you believe in your ability to achieve, but you also believe you deserve to achieve? You're confident not only in your ability to execute things, but you're confident in who you are, who you really are. And you have the courage to really share with others who you are. And then if they bully that, you have to have the courage to stand up to them, but not bully them back, which is, you don't want to overswing that pendulum to where you become the bully, which is the very thing that we are trying to work on. So I'm still in it, and it took me 35 years to get to a place where I feel like I kind of get it. Yeah. Which there goes my humility, right?
But no, I mean, you make so many important points, and the reality is the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways that I'm taking from this conversation, Alan, is, we all have our personal battles. We all have our things within us that we need to confront in order to, I don't care if you want to call it break down that shell or show people who we really are, or help ourselves in order to help other people, confront the bullies but try to confront them in a way, just like I talk about on this show so often. It really begins with a conversation, because if we quit having the conversations, the violence is going to come. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do everything. There's so many lessons that can be taken away from conversations like this, and the work that you guys do at Next Level University and with the Next Level podcast and things like that. I know we're at the end of our time, Alan. Been an incredible conversation, and I just want you to. I mean, there's so much more we could talk about. So many things that we are on the same page, the same wavelength, same mission, and it really comes down to bettering the world one attitude at a time, like I talk about all the time, and that starts with each of us as an individual. You guys are doing so much over there to help people better themselves as an individual, and that will help people better their lives. Bettering their lives will better the world. You guys are doing awesome. Give us some parting words for the DTH listeners, Alan, and then we'll wrap this thing up for the day and look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Wilk. I really appreciate it. After this, I've got to jump into a book called The Psychology of Money. So I got to shift gears here in a minute. I got a book club coming up. It's going from talking about the bullying in my childhood to basically let's talk about money and how to invest, Thank you for having me. Seriously, I appreciate it. This is great. I think you're right that when conversations that are confronted vulnerably, honestly, courageously, that's when we can solve some real problems. And that's really good. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Parting words would be lead by example. I think I'm angry about my past because I looked for a male role model, never had a dad. And there were no men in hindsight that I think deserved my reverence. And I gave my reverence away to a lot of male role models that really were not male role models. And so now I'm trying to be the change I wish to see in the world, and I'm trying to be a male role model. And I actually, one of my favorite clients, he's 18 years old, and I'm very blessed now to be able to coach people from 18 to 63 and all different walks of life. And it's my youngest client that's my favorite because it's a young version of me, just helping him believe in himself and not let bullies keep him down. And so just try to be kind, be respectful, but also stand up for what you believe in and figure out who you are and make sure that you lead by example. I think that's what it is more than anything. Is just if you're talking more than you're walking, just shut up and do a much better job. Like, I will never ever say something that I'm not actually doing. I tell my clients, that would be my last words. I tell my clients, if I will never coach you on something that I'm not personally doing. Whether it's journaling or habit tracking or personal growth or personal development or podcasting, like, I am doing this work every day, and that's what's going to change the world. So fulfilled people don't hurt people, and it's your responsibility to be fulfilled regardless of how brutal your past has been.
That's right, man. Fulfilled people will not hurt people. Keep it up, Alan. I've greatly appreciated this conversation. You're awesome, and we'll look forward to doing it again. Thank you, Alan Lazaros.
My pleasure.
Friends, if there's anything in this episode that provided exceptional value to you, please make sure to hit that share button. Share it with your friends, share it far and wide. And of course, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe right from our website so you can get the D-Rate the Hate podcast sent to your email inbox every week. So this is Wilk wrapping up for the week, saying get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. If there is something that you would like to share with me, you can catch me on most social media platforms, or you can email me directly, wilk@wilksworld.com. With that, my friends, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week. Take care.